Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well this evening. Just wanted to do a quick presentation for you. New Orleans and the Road to Recovery. It's a resiliency framework based on economy and society. So with that being said, who's heard of the Big Easy? New Orleans, it's a city that never sleeps. Everybody's had contact with it, whether through tourism, the media, things like that. For me, my biggest impact and the contact that set the most precedence for me was during Hurricane Katrina when my unit was activated and then deployed for 2 months on ground, following the water as it was receding, performing rescues, and working with EMS to clear obstacles so they can get farther into the damaged areas and perform their duties. So it's always been a question on my mind and heart on how the cities recovered and were they able to bounce back and how that was done. So this is really cool that I'm able to do this. So let's go ahead and get started. The biggest thing to know for New Orleans is it's a city in Louisiana. It's 181 square miles in size with a population of approximately 423,650 people. The city is surrounded by water on three sides with a significant amount of lakes, marshlands, and waterways throughout the city. Key to that is the city's elevation is average between 5 feet below sea level to only 15 feet above sea level. So vast majority of the population is living in a bowl. So within that, you have what's called the City Resilience Framework. And this is the basis on how, in times of a disaster or an emergency, whether it's man-made or natural, uh, this is how a community and a government can bounce back. This works in the plans and processing for prior to a disaster, during the disaster, and especially after the disaster. And how they do that is through the four different dimensions: leadership and strategy, health and well-being, economy and society, and infrastructure and environment. For the purposes of this presentation, we're just going to discuss and focus on economy and society. So within economy and society, you have three different drivers. These are the keys for the key drivers that set up the path for planning the emergencies and how to recover from them. Those drivers are foster economic prosperity, ensure social stability, security, and justice, and promoting cohesive and engaged communities. So with fostering economic prosperity, the communities in the city of Louisiana, or New Orleans, has done a really great job on looking back on the lessons learned from Hurricane Katrina, uh, Deepwater Horizon, all those different events that have been really critical impacts on both the community and the environment. And with the economic prosperity, with the mass exodus of Katrina and the businesses and the families leaving as an example, they've worked really hard to add in incentives, whether it's tax breaks, land use agreements, uh, really working with entrepreneurs, bringing those people back into the community so that they can boost up the market and the economy. With that, also, the city government of New Orleans has set up a savings shared plan where it's an emergency fund that matches low to middle class uh, families. It matches their savings accounts. One of the shortfalls that they found during Hurricane Katrina was a lot of families didn't have that ability to have a savings set up for when they were trying to recover, and those families had a lot of predatory lenders come in and try and take advantage of the populace. So with the savings plans as well as the training and education that comes with it, the city is able to give that strength back to the individual families and individuals and empower them so that they are safer and better prepared to defend themselves against lenders and crooks. So with the ensuring social stability and security and justice, city government worked together with the community. They came up with the creation of the Police Community Advisory Board, where on a quarterly basis, law enforcement has an open house or open forum for the community and the government officials and businesses to come in and have group conversations, one-on-one conversations on concerns within the community with crime, how they can work together to better that, whether it's the society or the communities themselves, safer for the kids, things like that. Law enforcement themselves, over the last couple of years, they've spent over $40 million to implement a uh, citywide crime camera system, as well as a state-of-the-art monitoring system for that. Uh, that system alone, since 2016, has incrementally dropped crime rates over each year up to 2019. Another program that they've worked with after studies and finding that youth, unfortunately, have been a largest portion of the crime rates last couple of years. They came in and they created the Youth Violence Prevention Program, where they come in and they work with the kids and the youths on getting them off the street, getting them back into trade programs, getting them back into school, more positive influence within the community that they have a vested interest in. And then the community has also worked with law enforcement. Law enforcement has worked directly through the court orders and mandates on their decreed consent decree compliance, where in the past they've had uh, internal affairs issues or wrongful death cases, and this brings them back up with compliance. They've been working on it since 2012 to get back up into compliance and training between officers and community representatives. They've also designed the Tiger teams, which is a tactical intelligence gathering and enforcement response teams, and their sole mission is to track down any case that's violence to the community, whether it's robbery, murder, assault, any of that. And their sole mission is to continue until the case is solved. So they have multiple teams out and working with those and working directly with the community, and has had a huge impact also. So the biggest one, and for me, the most critical, is promoting cohesive and engaged community. Without a community, you're not going to win. And the biggest thing is to try and find a way to get everybody together and on one sheet of music. And what the community and the city of New Orleans has done is they created the Neighborhood Engagement Office. Their sole job is working side by side with the community. They've created different organizations. The biggest ones so far have been the Neighborhood Leaders Roundtable, Neighborhood Participation Program for Land Use Actions, and the Civic Leadership Academy. So with the roundtables, it's the same thing as the law enforcement and their community meetings, where the community can get with the civic leaders and the city government and look at what businesses are coming in, what parks, what crime rates, how to better influence the community, how to better prepare and train for disasters, things like that. The participation program for land use actions, that's directly where the community has somewhat of a say or recommendations on when entrepreneurs or those businesses want to come in and how it's going to affect both positively and negatively the communities that they want to become a part of. And then you have social networking. In this day and age, it's imperative that they can be on the web and they have a way to communicate with the populace. So the city government has worked diligently on implementing training and resiliency through the social media outlets as well as their city and government pages. And then they worked really hard on promotion of community volunteer organizations, especially medical reserve corporations or corps, correction. Working directly with law enforcement and EMS, as well as the CERT teams on disaster resiliency and evacuations, things like that. And then they've worked with the integration in yearly neighborhood summits, and it's once a year, between 1 to 2 days at a time, and it's where the community, faith-based organizations, you have the businesses, you have the government, you have federal agencies come in, and their sole job is just networking and meet and greets and trying to set up for the future how they want to work together. So with that being said, are they ready for the future? I think New Orleans is doing pretty well right now, and what they need to do is to continue with the whole community thought process and working together and building that family and that resiliency. And I think they'll be set up for success. Thank you for participating in this exercise and sticking with me through it. I hope you guys have a great night. Thank you.